Today's 1 hour of sewing might be the start of a great quilt, or it could just be the start of a mess that never gets done. My husband got this quilt hanger from a relative and we just stuck it here above our couch. The space between the quilt hanger and maybe 6 inches above the couch is just 48 inches. And then the length of the quilt hanger is like 80 inches. That's really not a standard quilt size. I could make a square, or I can make a quilt just for that space. Thinking I'm going to make it 48 inches tall and maybe not quite the whole 84 inches wide. And remember, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm just sort of making up a plan and we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll get done. Maybe it won't ever get created. Or maybe I'll create it and hate it. Who knows? When I first started thinking about that space, I really wanted to use a whole bunch of drunkard path blocks. But I also want to try to really get it on the wall before Christmas, so I've designed something that has really big drunkard's path blocks. These are 12-inch square blocks. I'm planning to use this ruler to do the cutting of the squares. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger than 12.5 inches just so I can trim them and not worry so much about getting those edges perfectly lined up when I'm sewing the curves. There's going to be a lot of waste in cutting these pieces because I want to have all of this background be the same and then these like moon-like things all to be different, which means I'm going to be cutting out of the background fabric all of these. So I'm going to have a lot of extra pieces. This quilt is actually going to use 3.5 yards of that background and then a bunch of fabrics for the moon parts. I'm thinking maybe 7 different fabrics and they each need 14 inches, so almost a half a yard. Off to see what I have in my stash. And this is where I remembered I haven't started my timer, so this is where my 1 hour of sewing starts today. Since I'm making this in time for Christmas, I first started looking a little bit in the Christmas and snowflake fabrics. That's really not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe greens and purples. Turns out I don't have a lot of purples. I do have a lot of greens, and all these fat quarters, I could make 1 moon out of each fat quarter. I have a lot of blue because a lot of my fabric is from my mother's stash and she loved blue, but right now I'm kind of sick of blue. I have a whole bin of batiks. I love batiks. My mom loved batiks. You can see they're mostly blue. I'm not really sure how this quilt is going to turn out, so I'm a little nervous about using them. I've made a mess, but I have some potentials here. It's really going in a different direction. So I took it upstairs and looked at it in the space. I did eliminate some of the fabrics that I picked. And you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I am really not sure this is going to turn out right, but we'll see. Step is to put all of these in the wash. Tomorrow we'll see what everything looks like.